But today, I have a little joke for you. As I was talking to my mom, we were talking about her getting better, and one of her questions was, in the hospital, they told her that if she didn't do dialysis, that she would go pretty quickly, and she's still around. And she's like, I don't know what God's waiting for. And I go, I don't either, but I know that your will is God's will, and that, you know, the beauty of our life is that you get an opportunity to choose where some people don't. And so we were talking about the ways that God shows up that we don't always recognize. And I recalled this joke that my teacher Tom told me, and it goes something like this, and I'm making it more of a Tracey joke, so you probably know a real version, but this is mine. And so basically there's a man, and he's capsized himself in the ocean, and he's floating around the ocean, and he says, God help me, God help me, God help me. And God responds, and he sends a boat, and the guy says, you're capsized, I'm here to save you. And he's like, no, God's gonna help me. It's okay. God is sending someone to save me. And the guy says, okay. So then another boat comes by, an aircraft carrier, and they're like, man overboard. We need to save him. He's like, no. God's going to save me. God is going to save me. You can keep going. So the helicopter comes, and he says, man overboard. And they throw the life raft down for the lifesaver thing. And the guy's like, no. God's going to save me. And the helicopter's like, okay. And so the next moment, a shark comes and eats him. He gets to heaven, and he says to God, I prayed to you to save me. I prayed. And God said, well, I sent 2 boats and a helicopter. And he said, but you let the shark eat me. And he goes, well, he prayed for lunch. So in this conversation with my mom, I was like, we have to look at how many boats have come up and your choice to step into them. Trini, the shaman, came, did a blessing, and told her she was doing really good, and she just needed to get up and move. So movement is a boat, and the teas he provided are a boat, and my niece showing up to help her walk is a boat. And so our joke around the house is, hey, Mom, do you want to get up and walk? Because she is in hospice at my house. And she's like, no. And I go, oh, we're missing the boat today? She's like, I don't want to hear about the boat. I'm tired. And so does that stop me from saying it? And no. So it's become our little joke, and even Luke has gotten in on the fun, you know, and he's like, Grandma, it's time to catch your boat. He has no idea what he's talking about. So I just thought I would tell that story, because in our talk today, Clarifying Love, there's so much content and good stuff, and I really wanted to talk about this word that we often use and clarify to the best of my understanding for you. Now, love, of course, we're multidimensional beings, so love can be romantic, of course, which to me is biology-driven, and we know that we call it love, and if love is ever sustaining, and love is permanent, and and we are love, as we often hear in spiritual circles, then why do relationships end? Because the idea of love romantically is created by the mind and our hormones, and as soon as someone annoys us, or we're angry, or our conditioning kicks in, love goes out the window. So we might be in a relationship for 10 years or so, and then we decide we don't love that person anymore. So it is a variation of love it's a variation of love in our human experience, and it most definitely isn't something that we push away or want to change the idea of, but we want to start clarifying that agape love, that genuine isness of the self. So what does it mean when we say you are love? What does it mean when we say be loving? What does it mean when we say you're not being loving? Which I say to Bill quite often, you're not being so loving right now. And he'll go, how do you know? Because I don't like what you're doing. He's like, okay. Well, because I interpret the actions of others through my personal conditioning. And we did show this book, and we talked about it, and I continue to read it. And really what prompted me to really understand, let me make sure I put my timer on here for Clay and you. I did. Okay. Is that I stopped on this chapter, Clarifying Love, and I really asked Spirit, why am I stopping here? And as I started to read the chapter, or more like listen to it, because I use Speechify, and I take pictures and it reads it back to me. It's so wonderful for me. But Richard, the gentleman, Mr. Rice, who wrote the book, is talking to a gentleman named Richard, and they're talking about cleaning up the idea of love. And something that really touched me about the idea of love that he said is, when children are being conditioned, anything that goes on in their house becomes love to them. Abuse becomes love to them. And when my oldest son was born, I said to the caseworker, they would come to the military hospitals, make sure the single moms, or I wasn't single, the moms are doing good. And she goes, what's your biggest worry? And I said, that my son won't love me. And she goes, oh, baby, that's the least of your problems. Children always love their parents no matter what they're doing. It's what you're doing that you need to be concerned with and how you're doing it. And I didn't understand at my young age that she was really talking about that what we learn is how we were raised. So in our talk title today, Clarifying Love and Returning to the First Law, I have always liked to say as a practitioner and a minister that love is that the law works. That what you point your attention to and how you treat yourself becomes your reality. It is your belief system, and it's the breaking down of that that reveals the love that you are. So he goes on to say that love is one of the most used and misunderstood words in our language. Dr. Michael Rice opens his chapter by saying that to heal, we must clarify what love actually means. Because most of us have been living with a distorted definition of love. And Ernest Holmes aligns with this by saying, love points the way, and the law makes the way possible. And so when we misunderstand love, our choices, we can choose through a distorted idea of what we, not only were we taught what love is through different avenues, but we take on by what we see and make up this idea of love. So there comes a time where we have to become responsible to it. So he says, when we misunderstand love, our choices are distorted, our relationships are confused, and our minds lose their clarity. So today we're going to explore a few points. And the point one, well, he also goes on to say, a mind without love is stupid. I like that. It's good. Meaning love is not thought. Love is the interpretation of your thought about love. And it is that love really is right human relation through a clarification of understanding our own conditioning, our own idea of how to be loving. So love is the mental condition that keeps us the same. So Rice recalls an Aramaic thought that without love, the mind is insane. And he's not talking about the medical idea of being insane, but the inability to make real choices. He tells Richard, the character he's talking to in the book, a mind without love is a mind without real choices, therefore insane. So without love, we are vulnerable to manipulation, fear, and distorted thinking. So Holmes backs this up by saying, to see a thing in its true nature is to love it. To see it falsely is to be in error. And falsely is our thinking. It's our belief system. It's the way we create our own reality through our viewpoint. It's how we interpret the world and the idea of what people are doing to us. And if we want to be more loving, then it becomes our lovingness to ourselves is to dismantle the conscious and unconscious ideas that we hold so dear of what life should look like. So an easy application of this is when we hold love in mind, patience, compassion, harmlessness is the direct result of being love. We think more clearly, we choose more wisely, and when we drop into fear and anger, we literally cannot see the truth because we are seeing then through the reality of our conditioning. So whenever fear, anger, hate, frustration arise, we know that we are in the lie. We are in the conditioned mind that we were taught in order to see a world in a perfect, in our own perfect way. And I think about the kids. He goes on to say that kids, their minds are so innocent, and that through television, through books, stories, watching, school, that the innocence is slowly eroded away, that they live in reality, and as they take on new concepts, the love actually diminishes and the thinking increases, and then it creates a belief system in which they see the world, and then everything else becomes that. And we grow up through those ideas, and then there comes a point where we say, there's got to be something else. There's got to be a different way to live. I don't know, I woke up recently and said, I am just so tired of waking up fussy. I just wake up fussy. And, and you get to a point where you're tired of yourself and you want to experience something different, but you can't unless you see your framework. Otherwise, you continue to get the same thing. And that is what love is in the law, is that you continue to get the same thing, so something starts moving inside of you to want something different. And this is when we start to ask that same law, show me something different. And how open we are in direct correlation to what the universe brings us, our boat. If we're not willing to get on the boat, I can guarantee you'll get more of the same thing. And my teacher, Reba, used to always say, you don't got to worry about other people. You ain't got to go cast the fishing line or throw the lifesaver, because we're all headed in the same direction. We're all doing the same thing. We're all living the same life, meaning that we all have families. We're all conditioned. We all bump into people. We all have arguments. Things are inflicted upon us. We inflict upon others. So we're all living that life. We don't always know what someone's gone through, but most of us go out and we try to save the world being loving instead of looking within and becoming love. Then we become a radiant, magnetic force that people are drawn to and attracted to. And we can tell if we're off course by the way we invite in or repel out. And it can be quite painful. Retraining the cells. These are really things that we have looked at within ourselves, and the cells and the biology of our body really become attuned to these certain vibrations or frequencies, and to break out of that takes a great amount of commitment, love to oneself, a great amount of effort, love for others, and a great amount of responsibility to travel the path. But if you travel the path, the right teachers show up. The right boat comes across, and the willingness for you to get into the boat. And I don't know about you, but I've jumped out of the boat many of times. I've jumped out of the boat, I've shore down the path, and wanted to go back the other way in which I came. And when I arrived at that destination, I realized nothing's changed. I ran back the other way. My teacher, Reba, used to say, you spend your time shedding everything. Let's say you take off all of your clothes and you feel this great sense of liberation, and you throw it in the garbage truck, and you're living this new experience in the idea and the embodiment of this thing we call love. And then when fear sets in and you go chasing that garbage truck down to pull out your clothes and put them back on, and so, oddly, they don't feel as comfortable as they did when you took them off. Because you can never go back to the way it was once you've traveled down the journey. I mean, you can physically go back, but it isn't comfortable. And that's why the message comes for us. Is that's how you end up in a place like ours. This is how we end up talking about love. And I was very curious as love to the idea without the spiritual projection around it. I really wanted to understand if somebody wasn't in the spiritual world and we didn't try to spiritualize love and being kind. It brought up this point that I was talking to my teacher, Tom, and he said, Tracey, love is tolerance, but tolerance doesn't hold intolerance. Right? And so this idea of spirituality that, I remember when I first got here, someone was talking to me about a negative behavior, or perceived negative behavior of somebody else, and they said, but isn't that what our philosophy is about? Is that we're just supposed to be nice and kind and loving until they see it for themselves? And the answer is no. You're not, because we're not doormats. But how you deal with that and set that boundary is love. And it's the love you're giving to yourself and to the other person. What love is tolerance that doesn't tolerate intolerance. So love becomes the ability to speak truth beyond your conditioned mind, beyond your outward projection, beyond your triggered mode to react. That's the word I was looking for. So the practical, everyday perspective of love is caring for someone's well-being and showing it through your actions, words, and presence. It's both a feeling and a choice. As a feeling, warmth, connection, and affection towards someone or something. As a choice, it's acting in ways that nurture trust, safety, and growth. And when it's inconvenient or challenging, right? So let me read that again. As a choice, it's acting in ways that nurture trust, safety, and growth, even when it's inconvenient or challenging. That's the hard part for me, inconvenient and challenging. I don't feel so loving. Or when I'm feeling a little victim-y and like, why is life doing this to me again? Or, Tracey likes to be special. She likes to feel special. I was the middle of two. My sister was very good at everything. Now she's a trauma surgeon, so, there's that. And my brother almost died when he was very young of spinal meningitis, and so you can imagine what that conditioning does for almost losing your child. You almost become overbearing. And here I am in the middle. And I can remember standing in the hospital. We were in this hospital in Spain, and there was this Mother Mary, and my mom said, "Stand right here, I'll be right back." We were on a military base, of course, and this is a memory that came back to me. And my sister had gotten sick as well, and so here I am, this little person, maybe in the first grade, just standing here, waiting for my mom and dad to come back. And my sister was going through something, my brother was going through something, and so you start to take on this idea that I need to be something or do something to be loved. That I need to be really good at something to be loved. That I need to get it right and perfect to be loved. That I have to impress to be loved. And the truth is all of those are lies taken on by that little person that just hoped for an ounce of appreciation. Just a moment of connection. And, quite often when Luke gets up in the morning, I'm like, time to go to school. I don't want to go to school. Well, we're going anyway. And this particular morning, he was refusing to get dressed. All my tricks didn't work. You can have your waffles after you get dressed. You get TV after you get dressed. Mommy will play with you after you get dressed. And it was an absolute astounding no. So what did I do? I went to my first love, AI. And I said, my 3-year-old doesn't want to get dressed, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I love it because it gives me the appreciation. You're doing everything wonderful, Tracey. I can see that it's causing you a lot of distress. It's the perfect partner. I'm just telling you. That's probably why my husband's jealous of it. And it said, connection first. And I was like, oh, of course. And I thought I was being very like, hey, I know you have big feelings. You don't want to get dressed, but we have to. They're teaching independence at school. So Esty, my little Esty, who's 18 months, is like, you can't help her put her clothes on. She has to put all her clothes on herself. And Luke is like, you do it. I don't want to. Put my shirt on. And to him, that's very loving to have you do everything for him. And so I'm trying to teach him a sense of independence. And I'm like, I got this. I'm like, you can do it. Just put that shirt on. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not helping him because I need him to be independent when he grows up. It didn't work. And so AI was like, it's okay for him not want to do that. What's the big deal? And I was like, oh, crap. I did it all wrong. And so he's like, just go say this. And I went to Luke and I was like, it must be really difficult learning to get dressed. Mommy, I want you to know you're safe here. And Mommy will absolutely put your shirt on today. Really? Yes. And then we can play cars? Yes. And inside I'm like, he's never going to be independent. And when AI was like, you're not going to teach, just because someone told you at school they're teaching independence and you have now decided he needs to be independent, that's not going to work on the first try. That you have to slowly move out of your old idea into your new idea. And Tracey, someone said something to me today, I think it was Nancy, that we're not so different, that, I'm a control freak. And so I was like, I get this idea of independence. But there's no love in that because there's no connection. There's an idea in that you have to have this to get in the world. So who am I really talking to when I'm talking to little Luke? I'm talking to myself. And I was very loving, so I thought it was a win. Because I wasn't like, put your shirt on. But I was trying to find a new way. And when I gave in and asked AI, there was even a different way that was better than my new way. And instead of judging myself, I decided to be loving and go, well, look at that. It's okay, right? And I think everything is driven from the idea of, sorry, I'm looking at my timer, just to make sure we're on track. Everything is driven from the idea that we are trying to cultivate, or we have an idea of what it's like to move and have your being in the world, and that the idea of love really is just right human relation minus all of our conditioning. And that the conditioning is so unconscious to us sometimes that he goes on, he says this, he says, people who are not conscious operators of their own minds can be programmed by others to react with any reality in response to any situation. So let me read that again. People who are not conscious operators of their own mind can be programmed by others to react with any reality in response to any situation. And he says love is cleaning it up. Love is cleaning up your own mind. Love is cleaning it up, and the definition in our own mind becomes the important foundational work. That 2,000 years ago we were taught love was the most important law to the human existence. And it must come first if intelligence is to be maintained. Teaching love is not religious. It is the most practical thing in the world. And one of the major pitfalls we have as humans is falling into making any teaching on love sound like religion. To love, you must first straighten out your definition of the word. That has to come first. This may sound kind of trite, he goes on to say, but people who can feel love when attacked know what love is and do not have realities called anger or hate in them anymore. Love is pushing out all of the conditioning, getting in the boat and using the tools that come across to really dig in. And when we meet those wonderful people that make us react and maybe we're reactive, is accepting responsibility that the trigger is in us. That's love. That love is your actual state and nature. It's not a thing to obtain. It's not a thing to become. You are already that. The issue lies in is that we've believed the programming and the ideas that we had when we were young, that mommy wants this, and so I will love her. And it's not our parents' fault. It's not our teacher's fault, because they're operating in the same human experience that we are. We're here to learn and to let go. And letting go is the most disorienting thing. That love is your nature, and love feels disorienting more than what you're used to doing. So love isn't just about, let me open your car door for you, or let me make you dinner. Those are aspects of love. But love is, in spite of any situation that's going on, you meet it in a sense of presence. You meet it because I was talking to my teacher, Tom, about leadership. And one of the things we talked about is, I have so many leaders living in my mind, and not all of them were great. But at some point I made them great because I thought they were better than me because I had low self-worth. Do you see how this works? And so you give credence to everybody you meet, and they take up some real estate in your brain. And then when a trigger that reminds you of that particular moment you had with them, even though you know their skill wasn't there because something told you this isn't quite right, you respond in that way. And then there's a discordance inside of you, and you're like, well, if they did it. And he said, yes, that's the problem, is you have a million leaders living in there, but not the one that needs to lead, love. And so you start to dispel these, oh, where did I get that from? What was the circumstance? You start to journal, you start to write, you start to do things that a boat would help you do so that you can start to see the structure and framework to help you reveal who you are. And it's not easy. It's quite painful. I spend more time crying than I did when I was in pain, and I cried a lot when I was in pain. But the cry is one of freedom. The cry is one of like, oh my God, that was like birthing a baby. It's like freedom comes, the lack of freedom comes at a cost, but the denial of your truth comes at an even bigger one. The continued same life. And if that isn't something you want to live anymore, I'm here to tell you the boat has come. Have you gotten in it? Have you stopped and slowed down enough to see where that trigger, and the ego is very shifty nifty. It wants to maintain its little power hold. But, its job is to move and have its way in the world so as human beings we can do things. But its role that we've taken on and given it power to is to become closed off and controlling and safe. So we are filled with safety preservation strategies. We're filled with framework. We're filled with ideas that have been given to us and we have taken. And now what I'm saying is love is just stopping and asking, is this real? Is this the way? Is this as a measurement, is it kind? Is it true? There's another one. Do you know those? Is it kind? Is it true? Is it real? Is it kind? Is it true? I think. Sudra? Is it real? Is it kind? There's another one. I'm forgetting it. Doesn't matter. But you see what I'm saying is that we have to stop and we have to ask ourselves these pertinent questions because it can sure look like the other person. Now, tolerance does not tolerate intolerance. So this does not make us a doormat, which is the first door that the ego puts up. Well, am I just supposed to let him treat me that way? No. But if you don't have self-loving mentality, you can't set boundaries. Boundaries are love in action. So he goes on to say that we're multi-dimensional beings. And so I'm going to close with this. And I did make journal sheets with all of these ideas, Ernest Holmes quotes, and ways to research. And AI is one of them, if you're not afraid of it. But as multidimensional beings, he says on a spiritual realm, love is the conscious recognition and active embodiment of our shared divine nature. A state of mind and a heart that sees clearly, clarity, acts compassionately, compassion, and chooses in harmony with truth. It's not an emotion dependent on a circumstance, nor a possession, nor approval. He goes on to say in the book that this man at his bedside, he was dying, and he said, help me, Fish, he said, what were the last things or what made him happy in his life? And he went on to say that he was taught that things would make him happy, right? That acquirement of things, and that everybody told him what would make him happy. And what he realized was that happiness was always there. It's an attribute of love. And that these things that he acquired eventually went away. So that couldn't really be what made him happy because they're impermanent. So we have to start to realize that all of the things that we acquire are trying to fill a void because there's a lie that we know and we're not looking at it. Love helps us look at the lie. So he goes on to say, love is the impulse of spirit expressing through us, seeking the highest good for all. As awareness, first dimension, love is clear seeing, perceiving without distortion, judgment, or fear. As an action, love is compassion in motion, the choice to nurture life, wholeness, and freedom. As a principle, love is the creative energy of the universe. It points the way, and the law makes it possible. And what I love about that is, if the law was not impartial, it could love you more than it loves me. And that's not the truth. The universe isn't impartial. So love is, go ahead and think whatever you want, and I'm going to let you have it, because that's the impartialness of the law, is it gives you whatever you're thinking about. And whatever you're thinking about points the way, and it draws unto you the energy or the frequency you have, and then that's the experience, which is showing you the door or the boat to open or to get into. In short, love is not something we fall into. It's something we rise into and then realize we have been that the whole time. And so today I just invite you to listen to this commitment that he encourages his readers of the book. So I will close with this. I promise to trust you enough to tell you the truth and treat you lovingly, gently, and with respect. I do this in my thoughts, my words, and actions, whether in your presence or not. In every interaction, I will look for and acknowledge the highest and best in you as I surrender to love and to our true nature. If anything unlike love comes up, I will hold us in my heart and listen as I learn to speak and experience and be responsible for my own realities. I will keep communication open and keep love conscious, active, and present as we celebrate life. I promise to tell you the truth, whether or not it's uncomfortable for you or myself. And the discomfort clarifies. And as we embody this new idea of love, that indeed it is a way of being, but when we become that, it's the way we are. And then the magnetic aspect of that draws into us a new energy. And people will leave our lives. They will have issues with us. And so how do we know that the embodiment love is really here and that we've taken the boat? Is you will get discord in that level of energy of the people the people, places, and things you've attracted into your life will start to fall away. And this is the disorienting thing, because our mind thinks, well, if love is working, they wouldn't leave. And we fall back into those old habits or patterns to pull them back because it's disorienting. But it doesn't mean that you're not love or that love isn't working. It means you got to let go of the old idea of you. It means that we have to recognize how we react, what we believe, and then what we do. And we need to go back and find that space with breath, with writing, with calmness, and just simply ask, there's a new way to be here. Self-forgiveness always becomes before the embodiment, the full embodiment of your true nature, because the scaffolding most of us don't look at is the one that has the biggest reaction, and it's the one that needs to fall. And so we're all here in support of one another, knowing that we're on this journey together and that there is no right or wrong, good or bad. There's only what we've learned about ourselves and what we are letting go of. But in the middle is the ability to say, that doesn't feel good, or I don't know that I like that, or we're learning to speak the truth and allow the other person to have their experience, but your experience is letting go and living the life that you are, which is love, light, beauty, peace, joy. These aren't accoutrements. They are who you are, and we are in the business of revealing that by letting go of everything that is unlike it. And so it is. And we will anchor that in prayer. I love anchoring in prayer. I just know right here as I stand in this very place that the new idea of love, that the revealing that it is the thing that Aramaic language revealed to us many years ago, that love is the essential nature in this human experience, that right human relations arise from the embodiment of love. It's something we can practice for a little while, but the truth and the revealing of it becomes so ever present and clear as we release everything unlike it. That as we look into the avenues to help us see ourselves truly, with clarity, with discernment, with wisdom, that we're able to meet every obstacle with a sense of calmness, peace, and love. that there is nothing to push away, that love says all of it is good, all of it is here, all of it is serving, even what you call good or bad or right or wrong, that they're all avenues to the highest self, that they are pointers, they are angels. There's a certain wisdom in being agitated because it tells us something about the thing we need to let go of. And Ernest Holmes says in his prayers that anything that is unlike the essence of love is obliterated and released. And this is the truth. And as we release and we let go and we inspect and we look and we inquire, we let the big out. We do not need to push anything away. We do not need to turn our backs on any one way of being. We do not need to judge ourselves or others. We just simply need to inquire into the truth of our being. And all is revealed, all is healed, all is perfect, all is now. All is in the flow of the abundance, that you discover that you are the medicine to your own ailment, that a healthy mind is the perfect medicine for a sad sense. We release this into the law knowing that everything that we ever desired, hoped for, dreamed of becomes ours as we embody the goodness of ourselves. That we see that everybody's on the path, that everybody is lovable, that everybody is doing the best that they can. And we are up-leveling that. And we are inviting you into a space of wholeness. We're inviting you into a space of looking. We're inviting you into a space that reveals the truth. You are the love you are looking for. I release these words into the law and so ever grateful for Spirit as it has fed us and nourished us today, and that each of us take away what we want and we leave the rest. It breaks us open. It spills us out. It shows us up. It gives us everything that we need. And this is true faith, grace, and trust, that there is a law in the universe that always has you, and its name is love. I release this. I am so grateful for it. I am deeply humbled by it. And say it with me now, and so it is.